Hello, everyone. Who have we got here now? Are we able to go to full screen there and get everybody on? Lovely. Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
guys, welcome to the second meeting on May 4th. I'm just going to pass over to Abdul just to give a brief introduction, and then we'll go back to myself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad a few members are here. I don't know what happened to other members, but it seems there's a problem with the network since it's raining heavily in most of the regions out here in Tanzania. And this is our second meeting. I would like to welcome you all in the meeting, and I will declare the meeting to be opened. Back to you.
Okay, guys, we're just going to start off with a quick recap on last week. Last week we set out to provide an update on the current state of rugby in Tanzania. We set out to commit to form a governing body, which we will then present to the Sports Council of Tanzania and Rugby Africa, which we've already applied to the Sports Council, who are processing our application at the moment. And the follow-up then, which will be something we discussed this evening, is the process for application to Rugby Africa to re-establish ourselves on the world stage. We held a brief meeting Sunday morning for anyone that wasn't in that meeting. The minutes were sent out Sunday afternoon, just essentially to pass the constitution, which we will be reviewing over the coming weeks and resubmitting that in an updated format that's more suitable to our organisation. But for the moment, we've passed the existing constitution, and that's been submitted to the Sports Council. So this evening's agenda, we'll just go through it really quickly. We'll start off with some comments. If anyone has any questions about things that we've gone over in the past week, we'll just have a quick recap on that. Then we were going to talk about the affiliated members, which should be something that Freddie will be able to talk to. Then we want to talk about setting up subcommittees, which will deal with several different aspects of running the union. We want to have a brief discussion about the constitution and where we're at with that. Then we'll have an update from Anthony on the website. Then we'll have an update from Paul on some issues with regards funding and bank accounts. We'll have a brief update from Irene regarding registrations, and then we'll finish up with some different issues that we're gonna all need to work together on, whether that's fundraising at a local level or reaching out to people in businesses that we that could be potential sponsors, and so we'll move on from that. Okay, so Fred, if we move over to you, and we just want to talk briefly about the affiliated members and Scorpions Rugby.
Yeah, guys, as you can see, we've got a Scorpions Rugby logo in the top left-hand corner. I know I've spoken to most of you over the last couple of years about the project I'm involved with. The Scorpions I think is the oldest rugby club, or was one of the founding rugby clubs in Tanzania. It was created to be sort of a team that was to bring rugby out and spread it across Tanzania. That was its mission. I've been very lucky that about 2 years ago I was put in custody of the team. The team had been affiliated up in Kenya and had been brought back down, and the various different goals and objectives with the team, but one of them is to continue in the original mission statement. So there'll be a UK-based charity called Scorpions Development. Some of you are aware that Scorpions Development, the company, has purchased a plot of land down in Tanzania and is helping develop that with the Tanga Warriors. And what we're looking to do, I guess, as a charity and as an organisation, is support the gaps that are kind of missing at the moment until we can get that external support from the bigger agencies. So if you've got anything in mind in terms of budgets, things that you need in a practical sense, that could be rugby posts or quick kit and equipment. Obviously, there'll be another funding stream that'll come into the union. In terms of the Scorpions as a club, I would like to formally request that it is recognised as an affiliated club. I know that at the moment we are still in the process of kind of finalising the constitution, and my understanding is it'll be completed by July the 30th this year. If anyone's read the constitution or has had access to it, you can see that there's a change in sort of annual calendar on July the 30th. So we'll move it from 2020 to 2021 to 2021 to 2022, if that makes sense, on July the 30th. So what I'm hoping is the Scorpions will remain in its original format, which will be a barbarian-style team that will offer itself for sort of invitational teams and could be made up of players from all regions, sort of a sister or supporting arm to the national setup. So I know that we're discussing subcommittees this evening, and Eric and myself have been discussing this as rugby liaison officers. We've got some ideas how we can sort of interject this. And I guess, yeah, that's to summarise it really. So that is, I guess, a formal request that I would like to be submitted this evening for the board, the voting members to discuss. I personally would like to recommend, in my capacity as rugby liaison officer, I know I'm not a voting member, but I think that it would be wise that we recognise that some of the clubs are in a more established state, and I'll be specific. I think Tanga, the Dar Cubs, so the Tanga Warriors, I'll be speaking, the Dar Cubs, the Arusha Duma, and the Moshi Bulls. I think those four clubs are looking like they've got the most. I know Irene's going to talk about registration, but they look like they've met all the requirements to play in the league and they're ready to go. And I think the guys in Dodoma, Mwanza, and any other region should be viewed in a different format. So I think we should have. I think Paul is probably better to speak to this than myself because he's been involved with the registration of clubs, and I know Abdul has down in Tanga. So I don't know if it's better for us all to come under the umbrella of the union, is what I'm requesting. So I guess that's the two discussion points I want to throw out to everyone else in the room is, would the Scorpions be allowed to be an affiliated member in a Barbarians-esque style team that would sit alongside the union and support you? I should point out at this point, guys, is we've already been endorsed by another number of other unions, so it'd be a benefit to Tanzania, I believe. And what is the best way to strategize to move forward over the next year or two to making sure that the likes of Dodoma and Mwanza are at the same sort of standard, I guess, is what I'm saying in a roundabout way, because I think rather than us forge ahead with one or two strong teams and leave the rest behind, which is, again, previous problems, we need to look at Tanzania as a more of a united blueprint, if you like. So I guess that's what I'm throwing out there, guys, for discussion. So,
okay.
Can I come in?
Go ahead, Paul.
Good evening, everybody. Officially, thank you very much. Asante sana. I would just wish a little bit if we just stick to some basic protocols. Phil talked about the meetings we've had and the agenda, but officially we have to adopt the minutes of the last meeting, and we all have to agree that we've viewed the minutes and we will adopt them, and then we can move on. And even the extraordinary meeting we had has to be adopted and approved by this meeting. And this is the correct way to keep things flowing, and this is a very important issue to have noted on this meetings that the other meetings have been adopted and agreed. Everyone okay about that?
Yeah. I'm not a voting member, so I'll exclude myself from this discussion if that's okay.
Well, it's not really a discussion. I think that's the way we've got to do it to show that we are running it correctly.
Yeah, I agree in the format. What I'm saying is I can't make a vote if I agree to the minutes, but I agree in the system of, we need to agree to the previous meetings being agreed upon. I thought that had been signed off by all parties, so I apologise.
Guys, has everybody received a copy of the minutes? They were posted in the WhatsApp group during the week.
Yes.
Okay. Abdul, would you like to go ahead? I think Abdul wanted.
Babu, sorry,
Yes?
I would like to add on something. For the last meetings of which we had an agreement upon what we decided upon, and then minutes were all sent to the group. Maybe the meeting of which Babu is talking of is the last meeting we had on Sunday, where also the minutes were sent to the group. Now, even if we say we discuss what happened on Sunday, still, even if people are to vote, decision was already made. So, and people were told upon why the decision was made. Due to time, and since we are starting every meeting at around 8 p.m., it's best to stick with the agenda of the meeting which is on table. I don't know. Do we agree on that?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're going. Can I come in,
Guys,
please?
As
I
can I
raised it, can I
clarify?
bring?
Yeah. I just wanted. I think I know what you were getting at there, Paul. Abdul, just to clarify that all Paul was stating was that the proper format for a meeting is that we briefly mention the minutes from the previous meeting and give everybody a chance to say recognise the notes and approve that we're happy to move on without bringing up any previous issues that we discussed last week or, for example, on Sunday. Is that correct, Paul?
Will, can you put us full screen?
Paul's gone.
I think that was pretty much wires crossed there, guys.
Guys, so just going forward, so at the start of every meeting, that's just something that we will be putting forward. Oh my goodness, Will. And that's just something that we'll be discussing. Briefly, we'll discuss the minutes of the previous meeting, and if everybody's in agreement that they're happy about the minutes, and it's just a form of protocol that we'll adopt in future meetings.
Yeah, I think the key thing, guys, and it's maybe we're slightly different format because everything has been made public to everyone. I think it's then for people to object. You know what I mean? So I think we can kind of start as Phil said, which is the recap on the previous meetings that have taken place. If anyone wasn't aware, in terms of confirming if people have read the minutes and they were agreeing on them, but that was for them to turn up to that meeting to be privy to that, to make that vote. So, you know, if any vote has been passed 5-2 or whatever it is, you know, even if someone were to object, I don't think that would change the vote anyway, would it? So I think you had control. Sorry, Paul, yeah?
Yeah, I'm not trying to complicate it. It's just, does everyone approve the minutes that they've received? Say aye. Yes, we have. And that's finished. It's not really making a big thing about it, but it has to be recorded. It has to be recorded in the current minutes of today that the other ones have been accepted. And there's been no objection.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
I think we're all in agreement there, yeah. Okay, we'll just move on now. I think I left it out of the agenda there. It was just missed. Fred, one of the issues we'll have to bring up this evening is our application to Rugby Africa and World Rugby. I guess. Would you like to speak about that now before we move into the next issue?
Yeah, let's go through that. Will, can you pull up the criteria for me, please? But guys, if any of you are going to present anything. If any of you are going to present, can you pull up the rugby criteria, Will? If any of you are going to present anything and you've got a digital copy, guys, and you want access to it, Will, our tech guy, so graciously do it. So, for those of you who haven't seen it, guys, I did post it in the WhatsApp group. This is the criteria that has come down from Rugby Africa. If you read the minutes of the meetings, of the first meetings, this is our kind of key priority at the moment because it is time sensitive. A lot of this stuff I know we've been working over for the last, comfortably over a year now, because of the pandemic. So I know a lot of this stuff, Irene has been sort of collecting the data, which has been massive. So I wanted to say a personal thank you to Irene and who is helping Irene at the moment? Is it Anthony? Irene? Yeah. So again, thank you to Anthony because guys, it's really made a game changer in the last week for what you guys have been doing. So big thank you to everyone at the clubs that's been putting data together. And big thank you to Irene and everyone for pulling this in. Okay, so the criteria that we're looking at there, guys, to be specific, Oh, can I pull that back up for me, Will? I don't look at my ugly mug. Can we look at that? Right. So, guys, you can see the remarks to the side there. Those remarks are directly from our contact within Rugby Africa after they've reviewed our current status, right? So, the good news is a lot of this stuff has already been covered. So, I'm going to quickly go through each point and give an update on each point and then throw it out to everyone. So, number one, we must be properly informed under the National Union of National Union with its own cost. Yeah, so basically that is our for the Sports Council, guys, and we've already covered that a constitution was agreed and signed upon, I believe, on Sunday by voting members. So, if anyone hasn't seen that constitution, just to clarify, we've all agreed, I believe, that was in the minutes of the meeting, that that constitution is a temporary one, which will be revised between now and July the 30th. Must be the controlling group in Tanzania. So essentially, guys, that is, we are covering all the jurisdiction within Tanzania. It doesn't really apply to us because there's not two unions here. So that's non-applicable. Must have a stable administration with good communication. Guys, the key word there that they've kind of stressed upon me when I've spoken to John Bosco and Herman in the Congo, and Baba up in Tunisia, what they've stressed, guys, is the biggest problem they've had up until this date, which I explained in the first meeting, was the communication chain. So thankfully, yesterday I actually provided them with the up-to-date revised list of your contact information from 2020 to 2021. I believe Irene, Paul, Philip, and Abdul, you had a copy of that yesterday. So that went off to Rugby Africa yesterday. So they've had a copy of that information, guys. Can I please ask, with respect, if any of that information ever changes for you, you consider letting us know as soon as possible. It isn't for us to be chasing you up, asking you what your new phone number is, or if you've lost your, you can't access your email address and stuff. Tomorrow night, guys, is Anthony will speak to this, but the website will go live and there will be email addresses. So I'm explaining a little bit around that quickly. Each region will have its own email address. So, for instance, it'll be arusha@tanzaniarugby.com, code whatever it is. I believe rugby.tz. So it'll be tanga@tanzaniarugby.tz, for instance. So you all have the same end, but different regions to start with, if that makes sense. And then what will happen is anyone within that region, for instance, say, I'll use the Dark Cubs as an example. All the players within the Dark Cubs who are nominated roles, so that could be committee members, head coach, head of referees, they can have access to that email address. So basically, if I was to email Dark Cubs at tanzaniarugby.tz, it would go directly to that mailbox, which would then send it on to the other mailboxes. The reason we have done that, guys, is, again, for transparency, but mainly for communication. There will never be an excuse anymore that somebody hasn't received an email, because at least 5 members of that club or region will receive that same email. Okay. Must conform with all the... sorry, Anthony, did you put your hand on, bud? No. Sorry, everyone okay? Right. So I'll move on to number 4, guys. Must conform with all the regulations and bylaws. That is not for tonight's conversation, guys. I am going to present that at the next meeting if that is agreed on the agenda, and I'll go through those bylaws, but only the ones that I think that we need to recognise that are going to be a bit of a problem with us for launching a league. Number 5. So again, guys, what it's asking is a letter of request. I will draft that. I've already agreed I'm going to do that. Must have an existence for 2 years. This is something I've spoken to in length with Paul yesterday, guys. Because we had a previous rugby union, we think of it in sort of 3 stages. Stage 1 is you're dead, you don't exist, which we were nearly going to be shoved into. Stage 2 is sort of a holding pattern, checking all your paperwork is in order. Stage 3 is you're actually in Rugby Africa. So we're moving from sort of stage 2 to stage 3. And what we don't want to do, guys, is start that process from the start. So what we're trying to do is connect as much of the previous administration and history to make sure that we've got a paper trail showing that we've not just existed for the last couple of weeks, guys, that this has been going on for several years, if not a decade. Must have a medical advisor. When I throw this out, I'd like Paul to speak about that if possible, because I know I spoke to Paul yesterday about this. This is something, you know, guys, we've been working to get referees qualified and coaches qualified. That will be our next major priority in terms of development. I would argue that we need to ensure that not only do we have medical personnel, we have qualified, safe rugby being played. So think of it like the coach's job is to make sure the players go onto the field safe. And when they're on the field, we need to have someone to look after them then, which will be our medical team. So I know that we were setting up subcommittees this evening, Philip. I think that should be part of that conversation, okay? Must provide details of a number of players internal for the past year. So this is essentially what Irene has been working on, thankfully. So you can see now why I've been asking for player registration forms, guys. So this will break down into exactly what is it. The rugby is all across Tanzania. So we'll know how many players have registered in Mwanza, how many players have registered in Dodoma, Tanga, and so on. If Irene is going to have a little bit this evening speaking about registration forms, guys, I hope people understand if there is no players playing rugby, there is no Tanzanian rugby union, guys. It's a simple formula. So when people turn around and say things like they're struggling to get players, or, you know, some teams have got too many players, well, the goal is, guys, to have 25 players per team. And then when you have 25, you can start another team. So I just want to be clear on that objective so people know what they're aiming for. We have to provide basically another letter, guys, which will, again, has been drafted already, which basically says that we have got a policy in place within our union and we don't discriminate against anyone. Can I just have a quick raise of hands, guys, from voting members? If it's okay, can I put it? Is it okay if I put something to a vote? Is that okay? Yeah, Daniel. Okay, voting members. Can I agree? Can we agree that we are not going to discriminate against anyone, and anyone of any creed, colour, race, ethnicity will be welcome within the Tanzanian Rugby Union, and not only that, will be welcome with any team, regardless of sexual persuasion. So if you're gay, if you're homosexual, if you're black, white, yellow, Chinese, if you're Martian, you'll have to play rugby in Tanzania. And we all agreed upon that. Okay, so we're definitely not going to discriminate. I think we are the new Rainbow Nation is what I'm telling people, guys. We're going to be the Rainbow Nation 2.0. So, number 9, must be recognised. This is over to, I want to say a big thank you to Paul on this one. Paul has been working tirelessly over the last couple of, I don't think he's had much sleep. I'll ask Paul to provide a little bit of an update on that, guys, because it's not for me to take the grace. That is not me. I haven't done any of that. Must provide the minutes. Yeah, again, what I've asked you guys for number 10 is Paul to summarise as much of the history that he's got and to summarise that annually. So we'll say these meetings occurred, and hopefully then our first meeting officially took place 2020 to 2021 after the pandemic, as we all know, because we couldn't get any sooner. So we had our first real meeting, guys, May, but then in July the 30th, it'll technically, or July the 31st, or whatever it is, 1st of September, that would be your next AGM, guys. So even if we submit the other stuff, I anticipate, even if they continue an holding pattern, as long as we've got that other AGM lined up for that particular date, guys, I think that will meet the requirements. So we all understand why that's important that we've got that definitive date. Not only does it meet the Constitution, but it meets the financial tax year, etc. Must provide financial statements, non-applicable technically, but I know there's a request from the Treasurer and Vice Treasurer to talk about bank accounts today, so that's relevant for them. Must provide details of participation of internal review. Right, this is over to Phil. So we have to put on the table this evening, guys, the discussion around a potential calendar. I want to be clear, that calendar is obviously for someone for us to share externally, but how this kind of will operate in the future, guys, is our calendar next year will have to fit in with the National Olympic calendar, will have to fit in with the World Rugby calendar, the African Games qualifiers, 7s, 15s. We don't want to be organising our first friendly, guys, on one of these dates. So that calendar will it's changed quite a lot because of COVID, but that will be released. So we've kind of got a lucky window this year, guys. We can kind of do what we want for ourselves and making sure it's best for us. I know we've got to discuss the Moshi 10s, the Zanzibar tournament, and the league itself, guys. I don't think there's anything else for this year aside from what I'm going to come on to next. Number 13, before you guys have come on the call, I've been speaking to Will. Will, could you pull up the one that you've done first so far, bud? The other infrastructure layout, just so I can show the guys. I need to get a vote on this, guys. These things when I finish talking to check that I can continue going ahead. But essentially, guys, we've lucky enough that one of the guys from the Scorpions is producing this type of stuff for us. You'll have to sign it off and agree to it. But we'll have a full infrastructure that will be diagrammatically shown like this, guys. So I guess if you can keep that up for me, Will, if you can go to, say, for instance, let's take where you says head of referees for Daniel, for instance. If we can all see that. Underneath that, then you'd have all the list of the referees would be under that, for instance. If you took, I know we've got a vice secretary, so under that. So, for instance, there would be another subcommittee under the International Rugby Liaison Officer, which there would be another subcommittee of 7 people underneath the head of rugby development, for instance. So I think.
What does that mean for us?
Sorry, I was just going to jump in, Fred, and just mention that I was asking for. This is the reason why I was asking for people's full names, and because I also have here some bios that I wanted to include in this PowerPoint as well. Must wear shirt in your picture. It's just a little joke from last time. Anyway, if you could do that, guys, give me the information I need, proper spelling of names, a bit of a bullet point on your background, then we can start to build this PowerPoint.
Yeah, okay. Then so when you're talking, guys, they'll so basically think of it like this is going to be a digitized document. So say you clicked on Abdul, it would cover up. Abdul is, I'll use you as an example. Abdul is the current president of the Tanzanian Rugby Union. He is member of whatever political party and whatever job you've got, Abdul. And then underneath that, then it would say your rugby experience. You've been playing rugby for how many years, for instance, and you were currently the director of rugby for the Tanzania Warriors. It doesn't have to be a lengthy thing, guys. It's just a snapshot of who you are. So if someone looked at that within our organization, I'll use Daniel as another example. So for instance, with Daniel Shamir, what would be important there, Daniel, is that we would be able to see, or Daniel is qualified as a referee, for instance. That would be one of your bullet points, buddy, okay? So nice to see you, Dan. Good to see you. So I guess just to summarize, guys, I'm not looking for your life story. I'm looking for your, the things that, so is your rugby qualifications, your rugby history, and something, about yourself then as well. So, and yeah, so is everyone happy with that, guys? Can we go back to the criteria, Will? So I know Phil is going to be talking about development, so I don't want to jump on that. But basically, guys, the reason we're going through this is we need to agree this evening that the people that I just mentioned are able to go ahead and do these tasks and bring back the information to the current board for you guys to agree upon it. I'm not asking you guys to do it. We've got subcommittees that are working on things like the website and the development. In terms of number 15, guys, Irene, this is something we're going to have to bring you in on heavily because I know that you're aware of what schools are playing rugby now and what schools we've got signed up. But also in particular, Irene, I think we need to agree on a basic pathway for women's rugby to proceed in the country. So I'd like to bring Irene on that, guys. If anyone has got any other women or ladies involved with rugby in any capacity, and I know Paul has got a few because I know her, please can we get Irene? I would request that we set up another subcommittee, Phil, just for women's rugby this evening, and I would like Irene to be to take the lead on that with at least 1 or 2 Tanzanians that we all agree upon. I'll finish up with this one, guys, and then I'll put it out to everyone to go through each point. Must have an official national. Okay. So what I'm going to do for this, guys, just so we're all agreeing, we haven't got a national team, so I'm going to ask everyone in each region to nominate their best 5 players, Phil. I don't care if they're 15 or 7. I just want a squad, basically. So the best 5 players from each region that get nominated, not by anyone other than their coaches. I don't want anyone's opinion except their coaches. So whoever the coaches put forward, if you think you've got more than 5, you just number them 1 to 10, so your first 5 and then move on. But how can I say this delicately, guys? I'm looking for the coaches' opinions because they're the one who's seen these guys training. They know what's happening in their social habits and so on. So again, I'm going to put it back to the board. I've mentioned Irene, I've mentioned Phil, I've mentioned Paul. Is it okay if I can work with those subcommittees, guys, to present that information, to bring it back to the next meeting, which hopefully is next Tuesday, and to get that signed off by you by next Tuesday, guys? Phil, can you jump in here, bud?
Yeah, guys, I'll be in contact with everybody during the week. Obviously, I've been around to all the different groups, barring Mwanza, and I've coached and played with some of you. So basically, yeah, get in touch with me over the next couple of days. If you need to have a lengthy phone conversation about it, if you have any headaches about it, we can talk about it at length over the phone, and we can come up with some lists. If you think there's more than 5 people who would be up to the task of representing Tanzania at a national level, well then, we're gonna have to look at everybody. So we won't be excluding anyone, but we will have to put forward representatives from each region. So that's where we're going to start with this, and then over the course of the league, what we will do is we'll assess everybody on an individual basis, and some of them, this is something I'll speak about next week after we have a call with Eric and Freddie on Thursday to discuss some of these matters. But yeah, we will be assessing everybody, every single person that plays in any game. If there's certain games I can't get to, hopefully Irene can be there. We'll be looking at everybody. So everybody who's playing has a chance to represent the national, whether that's sometime this year or guaranteed next year. So guys, if you could just get that list over to me, and if you want to have a discussion about it, please just let me know and I can give you a call.
Can I suggest that everyone have a discussion about those points when the 16, if anyone's got any info? And Irene's raising her hand there as well.
Yes, from my end, I think since we have coaching management, we've elected some of the players to be coaches. I think it's also high time for them to start doing the recruitment and take their role into their hands, and to learn how to start out to select players and just to be involved in terms of rugby, instead of us taking that role to start and again picking the players.
Can I ask Irene?
Yeah.
What do you think is the major reason that registration has been a problem? If we had to make registration easier, because obviously we've tried different methods, do you think there's a problem with the method of how we're trying to register players, or do you think this is where the regions need to be more responsible, I guess?
I think from my end, I think the people that have some of the guys that have been given the responsibility, some of them are not aware of what they are supposed to do.
Okay, I know that there's been some conversations. I know that Daniel is on the call today. Daniel, are you comfortable doing registration forms for the guys in Dodoma and the guys in Tanga, and Mwanza? No, sorry, Dodoma and Tanga, because you're going to be. Are you comfortable signing guys up for registration forms?
Thank you.
I think we just unplugged the laptop.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, look, obviously the registration forms that we had previously were only a starting point to get the database together. So what we will be doing over the next few weeks is having an updated registration form. Obviously the data that's already been inputted by some of the clubs we will hold on to. So moving forward, we'll have a national registration form that all the clubs will be receiving, and we'll be using that one going forward.
Can I ask Irene? Do we know how many players are registered?
Yes, Me and Anthony, we've shared the guys that we've registered on the database. Dodoma, we have 14 players. Moshi, 22 players. Arusha, 23 players. Dar es Salaam, 18 players. Tanga, 19. Mwanza, 21. And in total is 117 players.
Okay, then. So that's quite a clear indication of the areas that are going to need some work. Then, Phil, I would argue that you can kind of see clearly from that. Oh, okay. Daniel's back now.
Hi everyone. The issue with this registration, most of the areas, some we're recruiting new players. Some needs a little bit get into the game first, and then they try them to get interest. Like then Mwanza, like even in Dodoma, there are lots of guys. There are more than 20 players, but now we have collected just 14. Some are still with the forms. I think it's
Okay.
something also we need to keep on convincing them and also bringing them to the game, maybe having some games around. There's something that will bring them close to be able to engage in the game and be ready for the game. Yeah.
Are you saying then, just so I understand, are you saying that it's because there's been no matches played because we've had the COVID? Obviously, we had a schedule. Do you think when we have a calendar that there's going to be a bit more interest? Is that going to be easier for you to get registration forms done?
For sure, because there are players who are new players who are eager to the game, that they were told like we will have the game closer. Then after they postponed, some of them they just decided to quit. That's why we couldn't even collect the whole form.
Okay, well, that's something I think that's relevant for Philip then to kind of get back on top of and making sure we're in a good position. Guys, Philip, what's the next point on the agenda? But are we going on the calendar now, or where are we at? Or I don't think Paul and Daniel had it.
I've got a couple of points here that we still have to go through. So I'll just move on quickly to Anthony, if you want to give us a brief update on the website and that kind of that aspect of what you're doing.
All right, so far so good. We're looking at the logo, the Tanzanian Rugby Union logo. That's the task that has been put to my table so far. And when it comes to the general aspect of the website itself, I've been trying to get some samples of website landing pages that we can possibly use. I have some examples that I'll be sharing later on tonight. But that's it. That's as far as we've come when it comes to the website.
Can I jump in on this one, Phil? Because I think this is where. So Anthony, you know the chap called Pada. He's used a template for you guys in WordPress that gives you something to go live. There's something that I need from the rest of the members here as a discussion point. I need the request to put in from the web designers. They need to have a blurb basically about the union, an introduction. Can I task someone to take on this task, because it's going to have to tie in a little bit of the previous history, a little bit of the present, and then where you want to go for the future. But obviously, this is probably going to be our website at least until July the 30th, until we can kind of reform and go again. But I just want to have people's take on it. The website will have all of the regions, the logos done. Anthony, this evening I'll get on the pad and I'll get him to share the content of what he's got, because I thought he'd shared it with you. Apologies for that. He's keeping it to himself for a little bit. But yeah, guys, can we have someone? I'd imagine, Paul, you're probably best equipped, or Irene, to know a little bit about. It would be something along the lines of, we were formed at this age, status, reformed at this date. It's going to be the first thing that people are going to see when they come to the website, guys. So it's probably about 2 paragraphs.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we'll have a chat about that with the relevant people after this call in the next couple of days. Obviously, tomorrow you've got that call, Freddie. So possibly tomorrow morning would be the best time to have that chat with whoever you decide is the best place to do that. Just moving on quickly, we'll move over to Paul, and we'll get an update on what's happening with the Treasury and the bank accounts. Paul.
Okay. First of all, it was when we were going through the criteria of membership. There was Freddie referred to me commenting on some of the conditions. Is that still required or not?
Will, can you pull up the criteria? Can we pull up the criteria, please, Will? So, basically, again, it has to be agreed this evening. I guess the major thing, guys, if people have got objections, now is the time to say something, but I think everyone's in agreement. But there were some points on you related to the medical advisor, Paul. I think it was the first one we discussed.
Yeah, number 6. At the moment, I'm pursuing with Seba, who has been a great supporter and with his medical background to rugby, as well as a player. He's been great with the developers and always attending, very reliable and good. Secondly, that we do have a secondary backup that we can put the commercial company like Night Support down. They will be in attendance or to contract to service any of our needs. So that's what we go from having our own man who we can hopefully cover a lot, but when it comes to matches, we will also have an ambulance and a standby available. But that would be just for the criteria at the moment, and hopefully when we actually have to use that. So we haven't got a full conclusion on that, but we've got part of an answer. Number 9. This is concerning the must be recognized by the National Olympic Committee. Well, as you all know, with the little bit of the extraordinary meeting we had on Sunday, this was the purpose of the National Sports Council. Everything has been submitted and everything is underway. All our documents had to go to our district office in Arusha and to get an approval letter from them. And I tried to get an answer this evening, but I haven't got it. But we hope it's on its way to Dar es Salaam, where we have a promise that even if we get a letter from them saying everything is submitted for our application, puts us in a better position. That automatically covers will then cover the National Olympic Committee. So they're the 2 areas on the criteria.
Just a quick question. Would it be worth considering having a member of the Sports Council available or offered to attend these meetings? Is that something I could put forward to the board, to have a member of the Sports Council? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
I think the lady in Arusha is interested to be involved, but I don't know she probably deal with the general information, but she isn't really up on the rugby side.
I was thinking more of an offer of courtesy is basically what I was leaning towards. Like if at minimum, we know our next AGM is likely to be in July, and maybe just say, look, you're more than welcome to attend our AGM. I just don't know.
She certainly mentioned and had something that, and I do think that's a good idea that, when we do have our next in July is the time when we would learn a lot, and we need as many influences as possible. And she said she's willing to be a part, but to log in on a Tuesday evening may not always happen, but at least she can follow it through the YouTube and show interest further. But this is Arusha, but what we want is the whole country under the TRU. We want the whole country, if anything, and we don't. I hope that we will get familiar with a lot of the sports councillors for each region. Our president, I'm sure he knows the sports councillor for the Tanga region. If he doesn't, then we're very happy to try and find out the details of all the sports councillors. And indeed, the head of the sports council is more important, as well as in Dar es Salaam. So
yeah,
I hope that's an adequate answer.
Yeah, I think, as long as we can find an email address to offer an invitation, if we will agree that they should be AGM. And in terms of time and stuff, if need be, if we had such a prestigious person that was willing to attend, I think we could then maybe adjust the time frames to suit them a little bit rather than suit their slot. So if that's a concern, we can move around. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Move on, guys.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in that regard, there's obviously going to be a subcommittee that deals with things like club registrations and paperwork that has to be submitted to sports councils and stuff like that. So it'd probably be good to get her in on a couple of those calls. Girl from the sports as an advisor. Actually, earlier in the day, as opposed to the evening meetings on a Tuesday, where we're covering general issues across the whole country. So something that we could do is maybe invite her to advise on the best course of action with certain things.
Well, if I can continue, I certainly will be following this as the next agenda on the clubs, if with your permission, and use this lady as our mentor to try and guide us through this, and indeed with her contacts, she may well be able to help us find the more easier route.
Okay. Paul, would you like to speak a little bit just about the bank account? That's obviously a point that we raised during the week that needs to be brought up this evening.
Okay, and I'll also send it through to be on the agenda. Is that there's two items from the treasurer. I have very little to do regards to treasury at the moment because there's nothing to hang on to. But when we do, we're going to hang on to it very well. We are requesting a resolution from the voting members that we would be able to open a bank account for the Tanzanian Rugby Union. This is not only very necessary, an actual requirement. I've been to the bank today to make a general inquiry. There's not too much needed. Resolution, minutes of a meeting of the resolution, certainly the constitution, and a letter of application. And that would be probably the main things. Obviously, they want photos of people, of the signatories, and the sample signatories. Okay. I have mentioned that I favour CRDB Bank for many reasons. One, it's convenient for us because we use it all the time. Number two, it has a very good internet banking system, which is easily accessible and user-friendly. But thirdly, it's also a very nationwide bank on its own and anywhere in the country, and also through many other agents, which are called what this way? Wakala agents. So if anyone's got any objections, I'm very happy to hear them. And if there's not, then everyone could agree that we will pass a resolution that we've agreed to open a bank account. The second part of that is who would be the signatories of that bank account. And because we are a nationwide organization, and at the moment, myself, the treasurer, I'm in Arusha, the vice treasurer is in Moshi, and the president's in Tanga. it would take a little bit of a maneuvering of, say, sending a check to each person to get it back again, just to pass something. So we'll have to have some arrangement. But I suggest that, yeah, normally it's 2 signatures, and
how does that feel with the online? Is I'm a bit confused. If you had the online to transfer money, for instance, and for those agents that you just mentioned, like do you know what I'm saying? Like to do a transfer off my phone, I don't have to have authorization off my partner, thankfully, because I'd never be able to spend money. But you see what I'm saying? I don't know how that works with the counter signatory thing.
Well, online, you've already counted the permission to use everyone has to agree to use. It's another procedure to get that passed, that everyone has agreed the usage of it and the access to it and the passwords and so on and so forth. You know, it's a bit old-fashioned now, writing checks for things, and it's payments or transfers are more or less done online all the time. And this will be the way forward for us, but everyone has to be notified exactly when that happens. And I'm sure we're not the first association, federation, or whatever doing this, so I'm sure there's a format.
Well, what I was going to suggest, I think, as long as there was some sort of resolution passed within the board and members that would agree what you're saying, to use that app and report back. I think because of the system we've got at the moment, there's no real excuse, and information can't be passed to everyone instantly. So I think using that system, whether it be, you know, the WhatsApp or this, to just, you know, put the request in quickly. I'm more concerned with not the stuff that is pre-planned and budgeted for. It's emergency requests and not being. I think it'd be a blind you're in a position with that now.
Guys, Paul, is it possible for you to find out from the bank if, in the case of counter signatories, that the app is able to? Is it a case where both people have to sign into the app at the same time and approve a payment? Is that something that you were speaking about there a second ago, or is that something you know anything about?
Well, I haven't seen it, but what I will say is that during the course of our business, running our business, if my accountant makes an online payment, I am notified immediately by text message, and that system should come in. Transparency obviously is there, but if you've given them the trust to run as a treasurer and you are authorized by a voting committee and you are notifying the president together with the vice, then I think, we've got to let things run a little bit. We can't restrict the whole movement. Everybody has to know, and the fact that everyone should know. When the meeting is coming up, say the following week, you acknowledge in the minutes of the meeting that you've carried on with the instructions of the committee from the week before, and the transaction has been made. So everything is formulated.
Yeah. So Paul, and I guess everybody else on the call, if we want to hold this resolution this evening, is everyone okay that the treasurer has the power to release the funds? Obviously, anything will need to be signed off in advance, and that the president will receive notification when the funds are transferred. Is everybody okay with this system, and is this something we want to move forward with to get the bank account opened? Can we see a show of hands from all the voting members? Is Abdul still on the call?
No, but you've got Daniel. You've got 4 voting members at the moment. You've got Daniel, Paul, Anthony, and Irene. You've got 4 voting members, and that looks like Jacob is on the board as well. Hey, Jacob.
Guys, are we happy?
I think maybe bring Jacob up to speed first, though.
Jacob, I don't know if you heard the last minute or so. I'll just we want to hold a resolution on. Are we there? Yep, we were just looking to hold a resolution on opening a bank to give the treasurer obviously any funds that are for anything at all that we decided to release funds for. It will have to be approved by the president. Generally, we will, anything that will be brought up at previous meetings, but if there's anything to be released, it will be approved by the president and the treasurer for whatever various project it is, and the treasurer will have the ability to release those funds via a banking app or by going into the bank, and that the president will be notified as soon as it happens. Are we okay with that? Are we okay to proceed? Is everyone in agreement? That's 1, 2. Who are we missing here? Jacob.
Oh.
And is Anthony still on the call?
You've lost Anthony now. You've got Jacob. Guys, can I ask Irene and Jackson, can you mute your microphone, please? Anthony's back now, Phil.
Okay, Anthony, did you catch the last couple of minutes there about the bank account? Did you catch the last 2 minutes about the bank account?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear what you were saying. You were saying something when I broke off.
Essentially, we want to hold a resolution to give the treasurer the power to release funds, and the president, as far as we are aware, through the banking app or something similar, the president will be notified immediately. But of course, all payments will have to be signed off by both the treasurer and the president in advance of any being released. Are we okay with that system? And are we okay to go ahead and open on behalf of the Federation?
Oh, yes. That's okay.
As well.
That's 1, 2. Irene, Jacob, you're okay?
A slight improvement, and I think the vice president has to be included, because also the vice, in the absence of the treasurer, the vice treasurer has to be involved.
Jacob is on the call. Jacob is the vice president.
So I'm asking for the vice president notification to the president, the vice treasurer, as well as myself, the treasurer, to be authorized.
So Jacob, we're waiting on you, I think, Brad. Jackson, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yes, I can, Fred.
That's okay. So the request is, Bud, Jackson is the vice treasurer. He's gone now. So, guys, can I suggest that someone messages Abdul privately and asks his consent, and we proceed on with the next thing until he comes back on?
Can I come in? This is very simple.
Paul, we can hear you fine. You've got to speak, Bud.
Okay, I have had conversations with President Abdul, and we're generally in agreement of everything, but we do want his vote and his blessing on this. But the two things are, everyone agrees that I can open a bank account in CRDB, and number two, that we notify myself and the vice treasurer will notify the president of any transactions at the time.
Okay, so we've already got 3 votes on that in favour. We only need 1 more to pass the resolution, and we've lost the voting members. Is everyone on the call okay to pass the motion now? And if Abdul has any objections, of course, we can bring this matter back up next week and discuss it then. Is that okay with everybody? Anthony? Yeah, Irene. Paul, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm with you. Danny's with you.
We'll put that down as passed pending approval from Abdul. If he has any objections, they can be raised in next week's meeting. Okay. Guys, One thing, I'm just going to move on now because we spent a bit of time on that there, and we'll just put that down as passed. Pending.
Spending.
Dull. Okay. Now we'll move on briefly to essentially we're going to have to form some subcommittees to deal with a couple of different aspects of what we can do over the next couple of weeks. One of the main ones that we need to form is a league logistics committee. So that's going to include potentially, it doesn't have to be someone from every region, but we'll need a couple of people who are, you know, willing to contact transport companies, accommodation. So there's someone in every region is going to have to come up with somewhere like a hostel that's suitable for a rugby team to stay in. Sorry, I'm just having a few issues with my phone here. Guys, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to need somebody, for example, in each region who will source accommodation for any traveling teams, whether that's a hostel, you know, somewhere that we're going to use repeatedly, that's reliable, that we can book a couple of weeks in advance. So someone in each region is going to have to nominate somewhere or find somewhere. We're going to need some people working on transport. And then we're going to need, so that this will tie in as well with the referees committee, which Danny is heading up. Essentially, we'll have to organise referees and organise physical locations to play the games. If you know, at the moment, the only club with its own field or with its own grounds is Tanga, and the field is not yet been constructed. So, you know, any games that are to be played will have to be played on, you know, we'll have to outsource the playing facilities. So this is all something for that particular subcommittee to work on over the next, I think we have a meeting next week, and then we'll have, I think, Freddie, you were saying we'll have a 2-week break before the next meeting. So this is all things to work on over the next 3 weeks to try and get the league, you know, some sort of structure in place. Prior to starting the league, we'll also have to come up with next week, I think, a finalised calendar, which will be, I'll be sending out messages tomorrow to everybody to get some participation in this committee, and it'll be brought up next week with a finalised calendar for the league once everyone is in agreement, and that committee will then have 2 weeks to work on the logistics of putting the league on. The next one is a fundraising committee. So this is something that, you know, we're going to need participation from in all the regions. So each region will have to try and find a way to raise funds for its own club, as well as, you know, whether that's sponsorship, fundraisers, events, anything that we can do to reach out to people and try and get funds to make this happen. Because at the end of the day, these are all things that, you know, are universal in the game of rugby, you know. So if we're not self-sufficient, guys, you know, we can't be relying on things from outside for the you know, to bring this forward. The next committee then is as we spoke about briefly earlier, is a health and safety committee, which will just cover things like, you know, if there's any first aid courses we want to send people on, we're going to need a medical officer. Any injuries, we'll be able to get a support network there, whether that's if we have dedicated physios in each region, you know, if for serious injuries, that kind of thing. We'll be nominating that after next week's meeting once we have a formalised medical officer to represent the union. So that's something that we'll work on next week. The next one is Media and Marketing Committee. Anthony, I know you'll probably be heading that one up, and you'll need to nominate a team essentially to work with you and under you to grow the game, awareness of the game, work on the social media aspect of the thing, and that's something that you'll have to drive, really. You know, you'll have to be in contact with people on an almost daily basis, whether that's getting social media content, whether that's reaching out to radio stations or newspapers, and just trying to bring awareness to the game and what we're trying to do. And then the other one we have down is a Junior Development Committee. So that's going to be something we're going to work on over the next couple of months. It's not our most urgent goal, but it's definitely something that's massively important to get going this year. So this is all tying into the coach educator course that's being run on the 22nd and the 23rd of this month. I know I've spoken to a few of you already about it, and I'm working with Jackson up in Moshi about organising accommodation, and I'll be working on the transport budget for that as well. So I'll come to you in just a second, Paul. you know, once we have these coaches in place, you know, that's going to be very important for the club. But it's also something that the clubs in each region will have to give back in terms of going into schools or community groups and growing the game that way. So basically to ensure a steady stream of rugby players year after year. You know, people get older and retire, and younger players come through school systems or club systems to play at a senior level. So that's something that we're going to have to really work on over the next couple of months, with the goal to get into several schools or community groups in each region, which will then feed into the club system, which hopefully after 3 or 4 years, there'll be enough players coming through that one club won't be enough, and we'll have to set up multiple clubs in each region, and that's when the game really starts to grow and become self-sufficient. Paul, I'll just come over to you. I think you had your hand up there.
Yeah, just on 3 points you've made. Briefly, regarding accommodation, especially in Arusha, and I'm sure in Moshi and around, there's some good hostels which are running purely for like NGO volunteer people, and they're very reasonable, and we should source those more than we would hotels or guest houses. As an
absolutely.
idea.
That's absolutely a great idea, and I think perhaps maybe if you reach out to Jackson up in Moshi there, he because the coach, educator and referees course are taking place in Moshi, I think that's probably the most central location for everybody at the moment, in terms of bringing people from Mwanza, Dodoma and Dar es Salaam and Tanga. It's kind of a central location for everybody, and then again, it's not a big deal really to bring guys up from Arusha for the 2 days. So if you want to have a chat with, if you know of anywhere in Moshi, Paul, that you know you could nominate or something to look into, I'm sure Jackson would appreciate the support.
We'll work together on that, and I'm sure we'll find some contacts and see what's available. But certainly, with all the lack in tourist industry at the moment, there's plenty of accommodation where you can bargain, and there's definitely the backpackers type of accommodation where hostels available in Moshi. Moving on development, I really, you know, that's always my baby more than anything, but I really like to know that we are developing, introducing new people to the game as development. So that should be a constant development. But if we're talking about youth development, then that's a very, very good way we start feeding ourselves. And so it's very, very important that we bring up senior youth development as fast as possible so we can start feeding ourselves. Unfortunately, we'd love to bring on 6 and 7 year olds, but still be 10 or 8, 11 years before they can come in to support us. But if we could get a hold of 16, 17 years old and get them developed, then I would suggest that's the prime area we need to look at. I am not afraid at this stage of trying to encourage some of the pre-developers, especially in the Arusha area, to get active.
Absolutely.
So that's talking about development. The last point of development is that 2 years ago, we ran a coaching course, grade 1, for about roughly 20. Nadi was part of it. And, you know, it didn't all together go very well regards to the final qualifications, but they all sat in my office for 2 days and tried to do the computer side of it with the great assistance of Nadi in the end. So these people are an asset to us. We need to bring them back in and refresh their grade 1 and move them on to grade 2. Also, there was a more senior guy from Dar, and we've not heard from him, and his name was Casper. He was from the IST school, Casper. Oh, Mateo's here. So Matteo done this course, the grade 1, and these are all, as I say, assets we've already invested in. John Bosco was with us behind this, and we need to try and refresh this if possible. So that's my talking on development. Thank you, gentlemen.
I firstly echo everything that Paul says. Obviously, development is going to be our priority, guys. We're an emerging new union. Just want to summarize a few things just to make sure that we kind of get something out of this, guys, in terms of subcommittees. So just to clarify, firstly, can we have a vote? Because now we've got the vice president on you as well. So I think we can pass 2 or 3 damn it, he's gone. So close, but so far. Anyway, if Matteo appears back on you, we've got enough people to at least put it to a vote, and then we can get the views of the vice president and the president independently if need be. You know, this is technology, guys. We can do what we can do. So, firstly, can we agree that the subcommittees are going to be broken down into the following? I think logistics was the first one, fundraising, refereeing, health and safety, media and marketing, junior development. I've added women's rugby onto that as well. The reason this is relevant for me, guys, and the reason I'm asking this question is if we agree to those subcommittees today, I will fit that into the infrastructure that Will, can you pull up that infrastructure, Will? If you could, don't mind if he's still there. So we've obviously got to submit what I would call a diagrammatical representation, not that one, a diagrammatical representation of, thanks, bud, of what the organisation is, guys. And I think this will be a lot easier for people to follow rather than talk about terms that mean nothing to most people. So I think if they can see where they fit within that organisational structure, can I make one recommendation that has worked really well for Irene and myself and Phil in terms of bringing groups together? So one group that is already formed, thanks to Daniel. Daniel, could you tell us how many members you currently have of the referees subcommittee? How many referees you've got ready to do the course, please?
So far, I have about 8.
So
from three regions and 1 from each region, from Mwanza and Mosh, respectively.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm saying is, guys, that's a good example of a subcommittee that is working. So the way that's working effectively is rather than expect one region to find 7, 10 people or whatever it is for the subcommittee, my recommendation, this is what I want to pass, is the subcommittee should contain 1 voting member of this group, and it should contain 1 member from each region. So, for instance, if the subcommittee was fundraising, it should be 1 member of each region in that subcommittee. That's my recommendation for transparency, guys, but I'll put it over to you. And the other thing that I think we should vote on, because we can, is ensuring if Matteo comes back on that he could vote off that treasury thing again. I know we're going to go back to Abdul, but I think firstly, guys, can we agree to those subcommittees need to be formed? And if that's passed, the next step then is agreeing to somebody from the board to be a member of that subcommittee, if that makes sense. I know we've discussed Seba. All right, so is that okay? Firstly, yeah, Phil, do you want to put that to vote, please?
Yeah. It's 2 from this household.
That's unanimous, guys. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes here. Okay, so just to clarify, guys, I'm going to go through them quickly. Logistics. Can we have someone from the? So I think what we'll do, Phil, maybe put a list of these subcommittees out to the board members and let them nominate someone from each club or each region. Can we use the term region, or we still call them clubs, guys? What are we using as a term?
Yeah, I think we'll go with region on this one because at the end of the day, these are all going to end up further down the line. The ultimate goal is to have regional subcommittees then that administer to say, in 5 years' time, if we can get together 4 or 5, even potentially 6 clubs in Arusha, then there's going to have to be regional committees that oversee those clubs, and likewise in Dar es Salaam, likewise in Tanga.
But we've got Matteo coming back on the course. You might want to get that vote done quickly before he goes off.
No, can you hear me okay? Matteo? I think that's pretty bad.
Guys, can I ask the people that are not talking to mute their microphones, guys? It makes a big difference. Mute your mics.
Subai.
Should we move on to the next point on the agenda, Phil?
Yes. Okay. I think that's pretty much. I don't think we had anything else on the agenda this evening.
Can we get Irene? We haven't actually got Irene to sign off the coaching courses, but I think that's a necessity. So I think if Irene can just give the dates of the coaching courses so everyone's been notified publicly.
I don't know. I've never used Zoom. Is it good? Same.
Paul, can you mute your microphone, bud? And Jackson, Super, can you mute yours, guys?
Sorry?
Could you mute your microphone, Jackson? There's a mute button on your microphone so we don't hear any background noise. Super. So if you have a look, oh, you got it now. That's fine. You're done. You're good. It's just Paul left now. Okay, Paul, you're good. Okay, Irene, can you have the floor, please? Irene, can you unmute and give us an update on the coaching courses, please?
Yes. The educators, they're supposed to start to travel on 20th and then come back on 23rd. They're going to do they have agreed to do the course on, it's a 2-day course, both coaching and reffing. And then there's a budget that they've represented here. I think Anthony, I've shared. I think I've shared the budget with Phil and David.
Can I ask what date is it? So the course starts on the 21st. Is that right, Irene?
Yes, 20th and 21st.
First is a Friday, so I believe the course is to take place on the Saturday, Sunday. Irene, is that correct?
That is Saturday and Sunday.
The 22nd is the Saturday, 23rd is the Sunday. So they'll be arriving on 21st and on 24th. So that means that, guys, anyone that you nominate from your region to travel for the referee and the coaching course, they will potentially need to take the Friday and the Monday off work if they're coming from somewhere like Mwanza or Dar es Salaam. I know Moshi won't have any issues, and the guys in Arusha shouldn't have any issues making it up on the Saturday morning before the course and getting home Sunday evening before Monday morning. So that's not the major issue. But I know the guys in, say, Dar es Salaam, Tanga, Dodoma, and Mwanza will potentially have to take the Friday and the Monday off work. So, guys, just bear that in mind when you're nominating people. I know I've already spoken to Matteo about this. They're okay. I spoke to some of the guys at the Cubs about this. So again, these are all just things to be mindful of. That the Monday.
Can I suggest?
And the educators we agreed with them that the course is going to be in motion.
Yeah.
So that is what they have in their mind.
Can I ask?
There's something. Yes.
Can I ask what is the referee level 1 course and the coach is level 1, or is it the introductory to rugby? What are they running? Do you know what one they're running?
We are doing both level 1 and level 1 reffing and level 1 coaching.
I think
that is it's a 2-day training.
Yeah, Paul. Can we? Paul mentioned previously that there was 20 individuals, and maybe we could ask Nadi to Can someone get us a list of those previous 20? Because I know Danny from Dodoma was part of that group that studied the old level 1. It doesn't expire, Paul, if they've completed it in its entirety. It's a life thing. It doesn't change. So as long as they've done it once and they've completed it, they hold that qualification. They can move on to the next one. It doesn't have to be. It's not like a lifeguard course or anything like that. Basically, when you've done it once, you're certified to that level, and you can move up then. I think it. And
then there's something they need also to know is that the course will run concurrent. So when we'll do the racing and the coaching at the same time. So you can't choose the same course. You can't do both courses.
Yeah. So we've got, just to clarify, then we've got a list.
If you're racing, you need to stick to racing. You can't choose racing and coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. One more thing to that is that we'll be looking to run a second course later in the year to get another group of people the qualifications at refereeing and the level 1 coaching, as well as running a level 2 coaching course sometime later in the year as well. So, Paul, if you want to do something there.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, loud and clear. You've remuted yourself, Paul. You have to go back a bit, bud. Oh, you've done it again. You've unmuted and you muted again, but just push it once. Okay, you're good.
Thank you very much, Irene. Great effort. Please get me the budget as soon as possible, so I have a good idea what sort of what we're looking at, and then that budget will have to be approved by the committee, and we also got to see how we're going to fund that. We've booked it, we're doing it, but we now got to try and fund it. So there's a big section needed there. Further on, for the previous level 1s, Nadia is saying there was probably only 5 out of 20 completed the course, but if there was an opportunity for some of them, if we could search them out to get them to refresh the course or to complete the course, i.e. If possible.
I think anyone who's actively coaching at the moment should be considered, So if there's guys out there that are coaching or interested in coaching, I don't think there's a limit on the amount of bodies, guys. You can have it, because if they send in 2 coach educators down, they probably can take up 16 for a group.
Again, there's a limit. We currently have 50 people for the coach educators course and 7 for the referees course. Now, we did mention to Jackson in Moshi that there will be no issue with getting a couple of extra bodies from Moshi on, because obviously, budget isn't really an issue. The guys already live there. There's no transport or accommodation issues for that. So again, later in the year, we'll look at maybe running the course somewhere else, maybe running the level 2 somewhere else, just to give the different regions an opportunity to get more heavily involved. But again, for this particular one, Moshi is the location that we've selected. You can get maybe 1 or 2 extra up from Arusha. That won't be an issue. But again, the guys from Moshi will be able to put forward a couple of extra bodies. But at the moment, we have 15 for coaching and 7 for refereeing.
Yeah. Let me cut you. I think when it comes to the educators, we need to know about the numbers, because we have field, we have class and field, and we also need to balance out about how we're gonna work with time. If not, maybe we cannot finish the course at the right time, or maybe we'll have to do the course maybe for more than 2 days, which we'll have to go out again and review the budget.
Can I jump in on this one, Irene, a little bit, if you don't mind? Is that okay? That course can be condensed down, but it is a lot of work. it is really down to how quickly the participants go through the information. So what I was going to suggest to Phil was to speed up the process and give everyone a fair shot of completing that. If we could get some of the coaching material in advance and get that out to people, I think that would give them a much better shot of completing the course rather than turn up there and never know anything. If they've got the information to read before. So we've got a couple of weeks. I can find out those level 1 coaching and referee manuals if that's a help to anyone.
Thank you.
Please.
Yeah,
Please, may I complete what I was talking about?
Paul, we're waiting on you. Go ahead.
Yeah, the last item on this about the level 1 was the most difficult thing was people having access to computers and good internet to deal with the requirements. It's very online, as examinations were very difficult, and this was the biggest letdown after a very successful weekend of trying to get this going. As I may have mentioned before, I had to have about 1 or 2 days in my office of the guys. So please bear that in mind, that this is the challenges we faced, and we're already seeing the challenges of internet we have.
Okay, so is this going to be an issue in internet? Are we going to have an issue with terms of access to computers and internet over this? Because, you know, if this isn't online, why are we bringing coach educators down from Kenya to do this?
So can I speak to both of them?
Guys, is somebody have anything to say, or are we?
I thought Daniel was going to speak.
Okay.
What I was suggesting is that the online exams could be provided earlier to the participants so that they could keep on filling before we get there, so that when we go there it will be easy.
Okay, if everyone is in agreement, guys, because of my background with coaching courses, if I can speak to John, if I can get the approval to speak to John Bosco directly from the board here, and I can explain these problems and see if I can find a way around them for us by the next meeting, if that's okay.
Okay. Sorry.
John knows all the problems because we had a lot of involvement with trying to run this course before with John, and he's very aware of our challenges.
Okay, right. So over the next 2 or 3 days, we're compiling a list of names. We'll have the budget finalised by Friday, which will be submitted to the meeting Tuesday at the meeting finalisation. Now, in terms of the actual content of the course, we will be in contact with Irene tomorrow and yourself, Freddie, just to have these details, make sure that we have as much information possible.
Yeah, I was going to ask if I could arrange a meeting with Irene at the convenience. I've got a few things to discuss, and if anyone else wants to be on that meeting.
I'll sit in on that one, and we'll get this information together as soon as possible tomorrow. And if there's any coursework that can be sent over, have that over by Friday, which will give everybody get all the information into them as they can. So let's let it fire under this tomorrow, and we'll report back on Tuesday next week with a finalised budget. Any information the course comes over, we'll get that sent out as soon as possible as well.
And I can make a recommendation. Just because of the way the rugby passport is set up in terms of the online system, obviously it's not convenient for certain people in Africa, and I concede that. Aside from speaking to John, the one thing that I would recommend is, if the venue is going to be held somewhere in Moshi, if that venue must have the best possible internet connection, there's no point putting them in an old classroom with, so if there's a facility there, maybe like a local NGO that has got better facilities, I think that's probably where the paperwork exercise should be completed, in my opinion. And then what I would recommend is, if need be, Phil, when you were moving around doing your development in the different regions, then over the next period and meeting the heads of development in each region, if need be, then you'd have to support them in achieving that online form, etc. So there's not a way around it, guys, because we've built a much bigger system. If you understand, where we can't change what is above us, but we can obviously find a way to work with that.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody's in agreement there.
Over to Paul, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paul. Yeah.
There is the one thing we can do, not too much cost. We can get a Wi-Fi modem which covers about 8 to 10 devices. That's not a major problem or expense, or even something we can borrow for the weekend from maybe my office. The other thing is that it's not just the Wi-Fi; they've got to have devices to work on. They can't. We haven't got anything. They can't do it on their phones.
I think, okay, then realistically speaking, we need to consider a budget for
together tomorrow, and this will be, this is all these details will be worked out over the next couple of days, and it'll all be reported back on next Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not going to come up with all the answers right here. So let's just get the information we can tomorrow. We'll find out all the details, and we'll get all this put together for a report on Tuesday next week.
Can I confirm that I'll have the budget sent to me tomorrow and some discussions? Thank you.
Friday, Paul. Okay, guys. I think that's everything we had down on the agenda. Is there any other business that anyone would like to raise before we call time for the meeting this evening?
Any other problems? Danny would like to talk.
Tomorrow I will be heading to Dodoma. I've been funded to go. I'll be coaching there, and also I'll be trying to reach those guys who are new to keep on moving, bringing the number up.
Good stuff, Danny. That's good to know. I think, guys, can we just put a bit of pressure on individually each region in terms of registration of players and recruitment of players and all the things that should be happening internally and regionally? My biggest concern at the moment is as people move into the union, guys, the work in the regions themselves will slow down. So I think we need to start looking for leadership roles within each region, making sure they're stepping up. But I just want to say thank you for tonight's meeting, guys. I covered a lot of bases for me, and I'll get a lot of stuff done ready for the next meeting. Can I ask one thing, Mr. Chairman, or when to chair the meeting? Can we agree the next meeting dates in good time in advance so I can give people as much notification as possible?
Sorry, guys. We'll go ahead. We'll go again at 8 p.m. next Tuesday, which is Tuesday the 11th at 8 p.m. Is everyone okay with that? Same as the last 2 weeks. We'll go on a Tuesday at 8 p.m.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you've seen in the comment section, but there's a group of people that are actually watching online who should be added to the attendees. So you've got Kelly, and I think Seba is online, and Kevin from Moshi. Guys, can I you two?
That's no taker yet.
So as a list of attendees, I think someone's taking over in Paul's region. And apologies, I was going to say Matteo, guys, but he's come on and out. I'm just going to see if there's any other apologies for not attending a second. No, and also Abraham is present on the call as well as an attendee, just so you know, Phil.
Yeah. Right, guys, there's no business this evening, so we'll call time on the meeting this evening at 10:15. Guys, thanks very much again for coming on, and I'll be we've a lot of work to do over the next few weeks. I'll be in touch with people with certain issues. I know Paul will be in touch, and Freddie and Irene and Anthony, and we'll go through.
That's great, guys. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll talk. Bye-bye.